Is it ready?
Yep, it is.
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Witches and Wine. This is the show where we talk about witchy stuff and we drink wine. Clink and drink. Yummy. We'll get to that in just a sec. I am your hostess with the mostest, Lola Stardust. And before we get into the show, I do have to make a disclaimer. People have complained in the past that sometimes when we drink wine, we get a little tipsy and they don't want to get their witchcraft information from people who are drinking. Well, the show is called Witches and Wine. We do partake in wine.
And witches.
And witches. So if you don't want to get your information from a couple of drunks, then there's this awesome thing you can do. There's an X in the corner of your screen, and you can just click it, and we'll disappear.
You got magic. You got power. You can make things disappear. Just one little click, and you can make it go bye-bye.
That's right, you strong witches. Okay, so before we get to our awesome guest that I'm so excited about, I'm going to turn this over to my partner in crime, my high priest, my husband, my ride or die.
There it is.
Silent as Stardust is going to introduce the wine today.
Hi, guys. Well, tonight we have a fun female-orientated wine called Bistrot Chic. It's chic, but it's chic because it's from France and everything.
It's from France. Chic.
It's a Merlot Cabernet Syrah blend. Gonna run you $10 to $12 a bottle. It's definitely more fruit-forward than most French wines. But you get lots and lots of nice cassis notes, blackberry notes, but on a jammy style. Lower alcohol than a lot of wines, so very approachable and good for someone wanting to be introduced to a French wine that's never had one.
It is. I think if you want to dip your toe in some good red wine, this would be a good one because it's light.
Yeah, it's fruitier. It's not super tannic.
Yeah, it's not heavy like the ones we usually like, and it's not really dry. So those of you that are afraid of dry red wines, this is not a dry one. It's really good.
Yep. And what's nice, if you've seen other episodes, we've talked about old world wines. No added sulfites. So if you have any sulfite issues where you get headaches or you get flushed from drinking wine, you shouldn't have that effect with this because it's only naturally occurring.
And no hangovers.
No. Well, that's just based on how much you drink on this stuff.
Well, that's true.
If you get a hangover in this means you're 3 or 4 bottles in, and that can't help you there.
No, that's not good. Well, thank you, honey, so much. And all right, so I want to tell you a little bit about this guest that we have, this beautiful face on the screen. I first saw her at a local Gothic fair at Atomic Threads Boutique, which you'll hear me mention quite a bit because I do a lot. I'm working with them a lot in their burlesque shows and stuff like that.
And they're just good people.
And they're just awesome people. We should have them on the show.
Yeah.
But anyways, and our guest here was doing tarot readings. And I remember my son, one of my my older one, my 18-year-old, was really impressed with the artwork, the cards. And he's like, oh, she's got really cool cards over there. And I kind of peeked over. I was like, awesome. And then I looked her up and found her website and found her on Facebook. And she had said something about doing the Witch of the Week. And I reached out and said, can I be a part of that? Uh-oh, here comes all of my messages. Let me. There we go. Oh, no.
If you hear the plings, it's just part of Messenger and our internet issues at our house.
Messenger likes to slow down, and then all the messages catch up at once, and they all come in. But anyways, so I met her. I'm so impressed with her. Her name is, I want to welcome Ari Bratsis. Hello, Ari.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm kind of nervous, but
well, I don't know if you like to. I don't peg you as a drinker.
I'm more of a smoker, so.
Okay.
Oh well, hey, if you have to take a little smoke break, we do it ourselves.
We're in Washington, so we're good. Don't worry about that.
People who are watching, it's legal in Washington State. It's actually legal quite a few places.
Yeah, and we're all of age, so we don't have to worry about legalities.
No complaints. We're all adults.
And if you have an issue, click the X.
Click the X.
We've already talked about this.
Ari, I want you to tell us a little bit about this awesome website, which I'm going to show.
One of the things we purchased.
We ordered the touch of everything. Is that what that's called, or a pinch of everything?
Yep, the pinch of everything. It's the herb kit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So this is like perfect for spell work if you just need a little pinch and you don't feel like going in your herb garden and grabbing some, or your containers where you keep it. This has everything in it.
It's all labeled for you. It gives you characteristics and properties of each of the herbs that are available in it.
Super
so cute. Wonderful, wonderful resource, and very affordably priced.
Very affordable, and there's a lot of really cool stuff on your website. Can you tell us how you started? Tell us what your website is called.
So I basically run a business, and it's called the Apothecari. And it's spelled with an I at the end because it's like apothecary.
Yes, yes. I like it. Yep. It's good.
You know, but yeah, and basically, hold on, I have a business card right there.
Awesome.
Which I also designed myself because I designed everything myself.
Hold it up longer on the camera so they can get a better view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here.
There you go.
See,
Ari Bratsis.
We got cauldrons, we got potions, we got all sorts of fun things on there.
So what made you start this business?
I started doing it, like I started running the whole business around, I want to say it was like March or maybe April.
Of just this year.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a new business.
Yep, it is. Well, yeah.
Wow.
Stuff for a long time, but then I decided to start doing it professionally. So I was like, you know, and I kind of, I know this is gonna sound like silly, but like I kind of just sometimes like sorry.
It's okay.
No apologies, just talk.
Sometimes once in a while, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, but like sometimes, especially like for creative like ventures and stuff, you just get this random feeling like, boom, I instantly just want to do this very specific thing. And it's like the knowledge just sometimes like pops into your head like immediately.
Yes.
That's how the show came about.
Those things. Like I was literally, I was literally like drawing the drawing on my business card with the potions and spells. And I was like, God, wouldn't it be great if I could just like run an apothecary by myself and just like help people with their problems, and then out of nowhere I was like, I'm just gonna do that. Like I could just do that.
What is your astrological sign?
I'm a Taurus.
That makes sense.
At least your sun sign.
Yeah, that makes sense. Very into they get something and they go goal oriented. Yeah. And do you mind me asking, how old are you?
23. Don't ask me why I just forgot my age.
You're good.
I forget my age all the time.
You do that on purpose, though.
I do that on purpose. I'm 49. I'm 30. No. Anyway, so for being very young and just it's impressive. It's really impressive because this is stuff that we always think of, and we don't ever do it. So it's very impressive.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I say take advantage of it. You know, you're getting yourself up and running at such a young age. You know, go with it. We have waited in our life till we got started on functional things, and we missed out on a lot of opportunities to, you know, find ourselves.
Yeah.
That you're going to have an opportunity to do being so young and already have such a wonderful goal in mind.
Yeah, very, very goal-oriented. You have a vision, and I love it. Can you tell us what your apothecary offers? And I'm going to put the website will be in our description so people can see your website. But tell us what services. What does it offer everybody?
I do so many different things because I'm just I don't like to kind of pigeonhole myself, so I try to like really kind of play the field, like, so to speak. So I do tarot, and I work with multiple decks, and then I also do the deck that you saw me work with that I made.
Yeah.
I'm also currently making another deck right now.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then
do you have your decks nearby? You can kind of show what they look like.
I have the one that I drew right here. I just got it like officially printed. I know that was upside down. Sorry, hold on.
It's okay.
But like here's like I just got this one printed officially.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
So jealous you have art talent. That is something that isn't me and Lola's wheelhouse at all.
We can't draw worth crap. Stick people. We would make cards with stick people.
Everybody always wanted me to like kind of be an artist as like my career. And I was just not into it because a lot of the time, like when you turn something like that into a career, it kind of like sucks the joy out of it.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's not something that I've experienced with like the apothecary at all. But you know, and especially because that kind of is just about helping other people. But but I found that you can really like when you have like an artistic skill, you can kind of plug it into anything, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like, well, now I don't have to worry about someone designing my business cards or designing my website or making me a logo because I can just do that all by myself, you know?
Which is so awesome. So
Yeah,
awesome.
it's fun.
So you do tarot readings, you do healings and all that?
I do tarot readings. I actually also read fortunes with charms,
Mhm.
which are very similar to runes, but I made my own set because I just like to make my own of everything.
Yeah.
And then I also obviously sell spells and then potions, which are essentially just tea spells.
Yeah.
And I also sell like I make jewelry and I make little trinkets, things like that. And then actually next week I'm gonna be having mushroom crystals. So I just placed an order for those like wholesale, so I'll be offering those too. So that'll be awesome.
Awesome.
Very cool.
And now do you what I know you said you kind of don't want to pigeonhole yourself, but if you could pick one of your favorite things that you like to do, is it the readings? Is it working with herbs? Is it what you can pick a couple? I mean, is there one that just kind of is kind of your favorite, or is it you like all of it?
I definitely play favorites,
Yeah.
but I would say I have two favorites that I could not probably choose from. Probably the first favorite would be tarot. I'm literally obsessed with divination. It's
Yeah.
my favorite thing, and I'm really good at it. Like I hate to say that,
Mhm.
but I'm really good at it.
Mhm.
And I every time that I read tarot, I just feel great. And then also I would say probably herbalism in general, anything that has to do with herbs, I'm all over it. Like I love it. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel very close to the earth, you know?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Well, and you're a Taurus, so you're an earth sign. So
right,
yeah,
right.
I'm a Capricorn. I'm an earth sign, so I love my trees.
I
Like
remember
I love
you were a Capricorn. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, I love talking to we have trees in the backyard and I talk to them every morning, and I'm one of those crazy hippie witch ladies you'll see hugging trees in public. I don't care. I'm like this drunk, oh, I love this tree. So and I'm not drunk when I do it, I swear to God. Not all the time. No, just kidding.
Sometimes, but
Um Ari, what brought you to the craft? Like, when did you realize? What's your story? Like, as a kid, were you doing weird stuff and you thought it was normal, and you found out I'm the weird kid, which is what all of us at times.
I wish I ever had the realization that I was the weird kid, but I inherently like always knew I was the weird kid.
yeah.
Um, there was no moment where we were all like, she's a little, it was just, I like came out the womb weird. Like that
Yeah,
was, I was,
yeah.
but I definitely as a kid, I had some crazy experiences. Sorry, sorry.
It's okay.
When I was a kid, I had a lot of crazy experiences. I used to see like spirits and entities a lot, and I used to communicate with them really freely. And I also grew up in a really strict religious household, so that was like not cool
Yeah.
at all.
Did
And
you?
yeah,
I was just gonna say, did you ever tell people you saw these spirits, like your parents, and did they think that's not right or whatever?
yeah, I told a lot of people, and I actually we lived we sorry we lived in a really old house. It was like almost 200 years old.
Oh,
Oh
And
wow.
geez.
yeah, and it was also right next to a plot of land where another old house like had burned down, and there was like the foundation of the old house that burned down in like the 1800s. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm from the East Coast, so you know everything over there is old.
Yeah.
Um, and I used to see all kinds of like just people walking around and doing stuff that I didn't understand, and I was like, you know, and I tried to talk to them, and I told my parents, but um overall we never figured out like really what everyone was or anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it definitely did become like I think they were really I think they thought like I was like working with the devil or something.
Yeah, of
Which
course.
is kind of like the go-to assumption for a lot of people who don't really understand.
Well, especially in the Abrahamic religions.
Yeah.
For them, they have to be able to explain what they can't explain, so therefore it has to be the devil's work.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're like, no, horn god, different.
Yeah, horn god is different from the devil.
It was. I remember one time I was a kid, and nobody believes me about this experience. Nobody has ever believed me, but like, I swear to God, I was talking to this little girl who was some sort of entity, and she was very, very nice and very sweet. And she, next to her, she kind of like waved her arm, and there was like this glowing like orb of like light.
Oh,
And
wow.
like, I swear to God, she was like, come with me. Like, she was trying to get me to go with her.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, I don't know, like, if I want to do that, you know, like, I don't know if that's like, and that was really the experience for me, because my parents came into the room when I was like doing all that.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the experience where it became like you know, every day, like, you have to like sit down and pray for like 4 times a day that these demons are going to go away and stuff. And like, and then like, it was a huge deal. Like, if I was caught like talking or like seeming like I was engaging, you know, so like, that was kind of the
real for them.
You know, sorry, what?
It made it real for them, where they couldn't just pass it off. They were
tried to though.
Yeah, well, no, and so in their mind, they said the only way this is going to be cured is if you
pray,
pray it away, kind of thing.
Extremely intense. Like, everybody was just really concerned for a while, and it was like very stressful for me as a kid, because I didn't feel like I was doing anything wrong.
No,
but it was right. I mean, but it was made to be like, you know, I was doing something that was like forbidden, you know, like stuff like that. So it was very stressful. But
well,
you know,
we believe you, Ari, because we've had experiences like that. As a child, I had a lot of what I thought were imaginary friends, but they were so real to me that I could see them. Like, I could see them, and it was so, and you know, your parents are like, oh, her imaginary friend, but they were very real to me. And I had and they were children, and as a child I attracted other children, and they were like spirits of children, and I don't know if they were guardian angels or spirits, but I totally believe in that. And you know, those who don't believe your story, they're missing out on opening their minds to having those experiences, because we all have that ability, right?
Sorry, I think my dog is getting this.
It's okay. We have dogs and cats all over the place. So
also, my phone just said I have low battery.
Oh, okay. Well,
hopefully I can figure that out.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing this on your phone?
Yeah. I don't have a computer.
You don't have a charger?
No, it doesn't have a computer.
No, I don't have a computer. I think I have a charger, but I am so sorry.
No, please go. Is it nearby? Can you go grab it? We don't.
I think it is nearby. Let me see if I can. I might have to move though.
Okay, don't even worry about it.
We'll fill the time. Don't worry.
We'll fill the time. We've done this before. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm so sorry. Okay.
So I was just looking at myself down here in the thing. I feel like the dude on Beetlejuice with the big body and the tiny head.
Where?
If you look at me down here in the on the screen.
Yeah.
With me sitting back in. I look like I was just looking. I'm like, dude, I'm the dude from Beetlejuice. Tiny head, big body. Why do you look like you have such a big body? Because I'm sitting back, so the angle with the dark shirt makes it look like my head's tiny, and so I'm like, big body, small head.
Yeah, a pinhead.
Yeah.
So for our viewers, when you're we like to ask people about their experiences when they're a witch, and all the things that they've seen, and all the magical things they've experienced. There she is.
Yeah, sorry.
No apologies necessary. Well, you made it work.
You made it work. This is how we.
That's witchcraft right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're like, is this all right?
You look great.
Just
you
fine.
Look fine. Yes. You never have to worry. You're young. Your skin always looks good on camera. It's when you start to get to my age, it's like angles. It's like, oh, how's this?
Yeah. I already feel like that.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry. So you had these experiences as a kid, and you were like, you're like, I kind of know that I'm different and I'm special. Did you start researching it? Did you always know? When did you realize that was being a witch or being magical? When did that hit?
Honestly, because of like the environment that I grew up in for a long time, I was just very confused about the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then as I kind of got older, and especially like around when I moved out of my mom's house when I was like 14, or I'm sorry, when I was 12, sorry.
Oh, wow.
And then I moved in with my dad full time,
Okay.
who was a little more open-minded about things. And that was kind of when I started thinking about it differently, because as soon as the minute I got out of that environment, I was like, okay, I can't do this religion shit anymore. Like, I just can't do this.
Yeah.
It was just so unnecessarily, like, it was just kind of founded on like shame. Like, all of it was just like centered around feeling shitty about yourself, kind of. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't really like that. So, and then I started exploring several different religions, and I got a lot of flack from other people for like not being able to choose, but like I wanted to try out everything, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still don't really see anything wrong with that, you know?
Absolutely not. You don't know what's right until you know what's right,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know until you explore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then eventually I kind of settled on, I guess I don't know if you can even really call it anything in particular, but it was more so just the feeling of like I know, like, I had an understanding, like, there's energy and I'm able to in some way kind of like perceive that energy and change that energy around me. And then from there it kind of graduated to like, okay, like there are souls, and I think I understand like what's going on. Like, there's there's an ebb and flow in the universe. And then
Yeah.
it kind of kept getting more and more in depth as I started kind of learning more from my own life experiences, and getting kind of out of my like shell a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I didn't start like actually really probably like using like the term witchcraft or researching into actual witchcraft until about like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's when I really started, or I'm sorry, no, it was like 2 years ago. And that's when I really started kind of like being able to actually identify what I was experiencing,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of just like kind of like, yeah.
Did the light bulb go when you realized, like, oh, I'm a witch?
Yep.
Were you just kind of like, did it make sense and kind of make you feel like, oh, thank God I found something that is me, right?
It did. And I was it was easier for me because I had already detached from like all the people in my life at that point who would have had a problem
Mm-hmm.
with it. So I was already kind of at the point where I was like, there weren't going to be really any repercussions for me just publicly being like, okay, whatever, I'm just going to be cool with this, and if you're not cool with it, whatever. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now, on your when you brought up soul, and it made me think of that last blog you did about what was it called, self harmony. Yes.
yeah.
And you talked about the soul, and that really hit me because and I'll share this with the audience. So earlier the day before I read the article that we're going to talk about here in a sec, I had a really cool conversation with my mom. I think I told you this, right? We talked about the soul and where it goes when you die and what our beliefs are. And my mother's Christian, and she knows that I'm pagan. She knows I'm a witch. And we had a wonderful conversation. And my dad, who has dementia, was sitting there and added a few things every few minutes, but then he'd forget what we were talking about. And then he got up because it got too deep. He goes, well, I'm going to bed. And he went and took to take a nap. So anyways, but we had this really moving conversation. And then I get home, and a few hours later, Ari says, hey, take a look at this article I wrote. I'm like, cool. So I read it. And she basically touched upon everything that my mom and I were talking about. So I thought, wow, like,
The universe knows.
I got goosebumps just saying that, because this article is amazing. You're a really good writer. And I really enjoy reading your blogs and your articles that you write on your website. Is that something that you already knew you were going to do? Like with this website, did you already know that I'm going to write? Because I mean, you're like a jack of all trades.
And this is on the Apothecari site?
Yes, on the Apothecari site. She's got a blog and she writes these wonderful things. Was that something that, because you said you love to do you're an artist and you're this, well, you're also a very good writer. So was that something also that you kind of knew you wanted to include in this website and your craft?
It's interesting that you bring that up. I kind of developed weird as a kid. I know this doesn't sound like it's related, but it is.
I believe you. Yeah.
When I was like 3 years old, like 2.5, 3, I wasn't like speaking yet at all. But I was writing in like full sentences, like coherent stories and like narratives. And looking back, that's a little weird. I feel like somebody should have like picked up on that's a little weird. But and then later I started speaking in full sentences right away and stuff. So I've pretty much been writing as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And I've always really loved, I mean, I can write about anything as long as I care about it. I can write about it. I've won like writing contests for like different, like for state. I've won like,
congratulations.
I've written like drafts of novels when I was younger that I wanted like, to publish and stuff. I've always been writing. I love it. But it's because like I can incorporate that into, my passion for spirituality as well. So it's like, I don't know, it's like my website is like the hub of like everything that I just love to do.
Well, that's amazing. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying, do you feel like you're able to better express yourself through written word than through
spoken word?
Oh, absolutely. I am nowhere near as eloquent in person. And the other part of it is and you can hear that I stutter all the time.
Oh,
but like
I'm a stutterer, so
but when I write, it's like, I don't know, it feels more natural to me. And when how people have like, I guess what they call like an inner monologue.
Mm-hmm.
Mine is written out, so as if like everything's being typed. So I read everything that I hear, and if I don't know how to spell it, it causes like my brain is like, but yeah, so I think that just developing in that way kind of fundamentally changed maybe the way that I like perceive or interact, process things around me. But I'm way worse at speaking than I am at writing. So.
Well, I'm looking at my husband here because he look at me like, what are you gonna throw me under the bus? No.
Continue.
No, this is a good topic. My husband has a bit of a stutter, and he's a great communicator, but he trips over his words, he stutters. He writes very well. I can't read his writing, but when he writes out his thoughts and stuff, he's very good at that. So I wonder if that's something that comes natural to people who feel they can't express it. And maybe that's also why you express what?
Do you have good handwriting?
I do, but I was going to also add that I do have really good handwriting, but I was also going to add that
there's a cat under you.
So I don't know if this applies to you as somebody who's also really good at writing and not very good at speaking all the time. But they say that you basically use a different part of your brain to write than you do to actually speak. And that's why when you actually learn a new language, and I'm really good at learning languages, but only if it's written.
Okay.
The reason for that is because it's actually using like a different like set of, it's a different part of your brain, so it's not processed the same way as language.
Well, see, and I love to write. I think I'm pretty good at speaking, but except for the past couple years with being on quarantine, I have forgotten how to speak in public, which is it's weird. We did a public gathering at the park, and I'm really used to running ritual and speaking in public, and I was tripping over my words, and I was like, what is going on? Also, Mercury retrograde. But I love to write, and I like that you brought up that you get to combine it's like a hub of all your talents, and you get to work with your spirituality, because that's how I look at, I love to write, so I love writing ritual. And I'm a performer, so I like to perform the ritual. I get to use my drama and theater background, because when you do rituals for large audiences, and like, when we invoke the gods, when we invoke the goddess and we are their vessel, and we're, there's a performance quality to it. And so to find that I can combine that was a very, and it's still, I feel very blessed I get to combine that. And you have so many more than I do. I don't draw. I don't work with herbs. I mean, I kind of do, but not really. So I think it's great that you're doing this, and I love your. We were talking about the blog when you started writing these articles. Did you um, you put a lot of research into them, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a
and
lot of time, so.
yeah, well, no, that's fine, and your information is so. I mean, I that's why I share your stuff on my Facebook groups because I'm like, this is really good. It's well worded. It's interesting, and I'm the type of person that I love to read, but I gotta have something that kind of grabs my attention right away. So the fact that you're able, because I don't think I have ADD, but maybe I do. I don't know. I don't know if it's just old lady brain, but you got to entertain my brain. I got to be entertained. And so you're writing, or I got to be intrigued. So your writing really like pulls me in. But speaking of writing, I want to talk about your Witch of the Week that you do. I love this idea so much because. So what made you decide to start doing that? If first of all, explain what that is on your website, and then tell us how that came to be because I think that's great.
So I was doing the blog, and at first I just started doing like tarot of the day once in a while. If I was feeling drawn to a card, I would talk about a card. And then I got kind of bored. I was like, okay, this is like not enough for me. And so I got to a point, and sorry, my dog is like really wanting my attention right now. She's
We
right
have
there.
animals everywhere and children that want our attention, so we get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And basically every week, every Thursday, I post a blog segment, like basically showcasing the talents, the business, and like, basically the overall, vibe of another witch in the community. Um, I don't really know where I got the idea for that. Sometimes I just start to do these things, like, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, that's working.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's honestly been so much fun. I literally look forward to it every single week because not only do I get to learn about what they're doing and I get to learn more from like somebody who's actually practicing, but it kind of builds a sense of community because like
Yes.
every single person that I've had on the website on Witch of the Week, um, I've developed like a bond with because now I'm like, I can feel more comfortable going and talking to them, and like we share information, we talk about like what spells we're working on, like, and it kind of like it really kind of helps like bring the community like together a little bit because then you're kind of like feeling less alone about everything.
And that is so important because of what's happening in the last couple years, and we've been shut off from our communities and whatnot. So it just really, I guess I'm just really impressed that you already have these ideas of what's important, and community is important to you, and bringing together the community. I know for me it was, I saw your Witch of the Week, and you put on there, I think it was your very first one, and I think I was your second Witch of the Week, I think.
Yes, yeah, I think you
Yeah,
were.
because I read your first one, and then it said if you're interested, and I was like, okay, sure. And so I reached out, and um, it was just so fun to talk to you and exchange information and get to know you. And you're right, you're it's a good way for you also to develop these relationships with different witches, and we all have different gifts and talents, and it's wonderful for us to get to know you. That's basically how you and I got to know each other.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
I was able to pass it on to a couple people, and then you've done people that I already know.
yeah,
And so it's exciting because I'm like, oh, like you did Jim and you did Dallas, which I
yeah,
love them so much. And then
yeah.
I
They were a lot of fun to have on as well. That
yeah,
was.
and then I referred my coven sister Danielle, or Zeta, to you, and it's just, I think it's important we all get recognition and
Yep.
have that. And I love that this 23-year-old and the reason why I say this is because us that have been in the community for a while, there's a lot of us old jaded witches that are kind of like, we get stagnant, and here comes this 23-year-old that's like, I want to bring the community together and like spotlight your guys' gifts. And you know, and some of us begrudgingly might go, well, what does this little whippersnapper know? But it doesn't take long for us to go, holy shit, she's great. Like, it's not about quantity of information. It's quality of information. And you have such a great quality of information. You should be, pat yourself on the back, Ari. You do a good, there you go. That's right. Pat me on the back. I'll pat you on the back. Everyone watching, pat yourselves on the back. Were you going to say something? No? Then keep patting me on the back. So, so Witch of the Week, we got Witch of the Week. We've got your blogs. Yep. That last one that you did, Self-Harmony, you said that was your favorite so far that you've done?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Why is that? Because I read it, and so far it is my favorite one that you've done. But tell me why it's your favorite.
Okay, I love being able to write about things that, okay, so I'm one of those people who I don't really like small talk. I like to be able to really talk about like the big picture and the deeper things about life. And it's really hard to do that because you can't, for whatever reason that we made up, we can't really just do that out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
For whatever arbitrary reason. And so, you know, I started writing and I was like, you know, I want to talk to somebody about this stuff, but I don't really have access to anybody to talk to about it right now. So I started, you know, kind of writing about really, I mean, and when I wrote it, I was also in a really bad mood. And I was really like feeling depressed. And I was like, you know, like what would I write to myself? Like if I was somebody else, you know, like what would I, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so then I started writing and I was like, okay, so, you know, let's think about, you know, there's reasons why we have these uncomfortable, unpleasant feelings. And there's reasons that we experience grief, just like when we experience, like I said in the article, when we get a paper cut, there's a reason that we experience that pain. And it's to send a message to ourselves that we need to actually listen to.
Yeah.
And likewise, I was thinking, you know, I think part of the reason why I'm in a bad mood is not only because of things that are going on around me, you know, environmentally at the time, but also because to some extent, like sometimes your spirit in a way almost communicates with you that something isn't aligning with like your values and something isn't where you're supposed to be. And, you know, so I started writing, and over the course of writing the article, I was feeling better because I was like, you know, I feel like, you know, this is exactly what I needed to hear, even though I'm the person writing it, if that makes sense.
But that's therapeutic. That's what writers do. I write for therapy reasons. Being a writer and being an artist, doing our craft is therapeutic. So that makes perfect sense that made you feel better.
Well, it's a release. It's an ability.
Oh, hello, puppy. What's your dog's name?
Her name's Jetta.
Jetta?
Yeah, she's a rescue.
Hi, Jetta. What a friendly puppy.
She's so neglected, right?
Oh, yes. Right. Oh, Jetta wants to be on Witches and Wine.
Yeah.
Hi, Jetta.
Hi, puppy.
Puppy.
She's too hyper.
So, yeah, it was obviously therapeutic for you. Yeah. Obviously, for me, I don't think there are coincidences in magic and in life. I think the universe puts these messages in front of us. So the fact that I was talking to my mother about it, and then you said, look at this article I wrote, that pretty much says along the line of what you and your mom were talking about earlier, but I had no idea.
No, it was good because I literally sent it to you for like, I couldn't even pinpoint the reason, but I was like, I feel like I should send this to her. And then I just sent it. And then it's even crazier that it turned out to be like literally like just spot on, exactly like relevant for you. So that was
the universe knows, and they connect us when it needs to, and it sends a message to the appropriate person of how to get that message out to the person that needs to hear it.
And that's what her article was about too, is that your soul, listening to your soul and listening to what your soul says is going to expose you to so much deeper messages that maybe the untrained eye or the untrained soul, however you want to say it, isn't seeing. But we all have that ability. And I think it's great that witches make those connections with each other, because we get it. We're like, no, this isn't just a coincidence. This means that maybe I need to start focusing more on my soul. What I took it as was, oh, Ari and I, she's already connected to me on a level that I would not expect. Because I'm not gonna lie, it has nothing to do with you, but I'm a little bit of an ageist because I'm 49. I think that I know and this isn't all the time, but I always think, well, I know what I need to know. Be quiet, don't give me that look. I know what I need to know. And these young little witches, it's very cute that they're doing what they're doing, and yes, that's great. But with you, I felt, oh shit, like, you have a very old soul. You have way more wisdom in you than I ever did at your age, or even this week. I just see something in you that is very, very, what would you say? Just
it's impressive.
It's impressive. It's very impressive. And that's why I'm having you on the show, because I want your local. She's here in Spokane. You're in the Valley, right? But you can find, the V. I don't know what we are. North Side. Anyway, I'm so white. But yeah.
I'm just gonna scoot over a little
Oh,
bit.
be quiet. It's the wine. I'm loving the conversation in the wine. But I love that what you're doing on your website. I love that you're bringing people together. And you know what I really like also is that when you don't know what something is, you ask.
What?
Like, you just say, what does that mean? Like, because there were certain, like, things I was using. Now you're confused, but I'm going to tell you what it was. When you were interviewing me, I said a couple things that you weren't too familiar with, and you said, can you explain that more? And I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. I liked that, because some people would be like, well, I don't want to ask that because I don't want to appear that I don't know anything. But when you ask, that makes you smarter. That makes you more intelligent. You look confused. Are you not knowing what I'm talking about?
It's not confusion so much as I thought just everybody did that.
No.
God, no.
No.
A lot of people aren't humble enough to ask the questions because they don't want people to know that they don't know the answer.
Yeah.
And there is no way you can know every answer, and the only way you're going to find out is by asking the right questions.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, we see in the craft, and you see it from people who have been working a long time. They forget that their cup isn't full.
Yeah.
There's always more to be learned.
Yes.
And it's nice to see that for those of us who are older in age than a lot of the new generation of witches, that some of you guys actually get it.
Yeah, and you ask questions, and you say, so I get why you looked confused. You're like, but doesn't everyone do that? And in an ideal world, they would, but I don't run across many people that do.
Well, like we see a lot of TikTok witches, and a lot of
Exactly. You're gonna stress me out. Like, my blood pressure just like.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Well, no. Because a lot of TikTok witches, they act like they know everything, and they've only been doing this for a small window.
A week, or
But
have you ever? I saw a girl pull, like, she was doing like a soulmate reading, and she pulled like the Tower and then like the Devil, and she was like, they are coming back because they regret what they did, and I'm like, sis, you are literally like, you are.
Yeah, but at the same time, you got to let that person learn the way they're gonna. I know the look on the face. Yeah, but you got like, it's hard for us. It's hard for us to sometimes be like, you know what? I got to just sit back and let their path be their path.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I never say anything. Also, because the other thing that I don't want to do is embarrass them in front of a bunch of people.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yes,
because at the end of the day, like, even if it's incorrect or like they're not understanding, like, whatever they're doing, or I also don't want to be the person who's going to go on there in front of, like, 500 people or whatever their followers are and be like, that, like, be a dick about it. So, like, because it's just like, that's going to just ruin their reputation with all these people. And even though maybe they don't know what they're, doing at the moment, the fact that they're trying, is sometimes, they'll get there.
It's and everyone's on their own path, and that's something, an ego gets in the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'll see a lot in the pagan and Wiccan communities of a lot of people that have ego because they were always never comfortable or always outcast. And so they finally found a place where they feel like they are a leader or a resource. And so
Yeah.
they get a false ego without knowing how to handle a proper ego.
Yeah, everyone has ego.
A proper humility.
Everyone has ego, but it's a power trip. And you'll see a lot of witches have power trips. And that's something that you just have to kind of learn on your own and go through sometimes. But your energy is very refreshing. I get a sense from you, and we don't need to go into too much detail, that you are also very actively involved and aware of what's going on in the world politically and that social issues. And
you can say that. You can say that.
I think there's a new, and this is why I'm going to say this, because I was of this thought not too long ago. I don't want my politics mixing with my spirituality, or I don't want my politics mixing with my religion.
But
thank you. You said that. And
yeah,
please explain that. Please explain that.
Okay, because the problem is that the definition of politics is not the real definition of politics anymore. Because the problem is politics, really what politics is supposed to be, is the idea of how you think what systems should be run and how things should be operated, right?
Yeah.
Like the fundamental principles on which society kind of operates. That's supposed to be politics. What politics has kind of become is deciding if people deserve rights, deciding if like people should be allowed to exist in peace, and essentially like deciding, you know, if we should oppress certain groups of people for whatever arbitrary reasons that we make up and things like that. And the thing is, like, because of the modern world changing the way that it has been. Okay, hold on, Jetta, stop, okay? Because of that, the problem is that okay, so for me, when I talk about politics, it's not, I'm talking about how I think society should be run so much as it is, I'm letting people know I don't tolerate hatred, I don't tolerate bigotry, and I don't tolerate inappropriate, essentially, like, treating people like shit, right? Because, and unfortunately, like, politics now is, it's like, do you think people deserve rights or not? And it's like,
and that's just human kindness. That to me, that's just common sense. I was just talking to a friend about this. When did politics become about just basic human courtesy?
I also brought that up in that article that I wrote, because the other thing is that the reason a lot of the time, the reason why people don't want you to experience, you know, spirituality on a deeper level and self-harmony is because it would be extremely inconvenient for them. Because the thing is, society is centered around who has power, who has control, and what they can essentially make other people do for them. And the thing is, a lot of the time, the people at the top don't have to do any work, because everybody in the middle is convinced that things are a certain way, and they'll do all of the work for them by putting each other down and dividing each other. And the problem with this is that in spirituality, so basically, part of my belief is, so while we each are individually souls, we're also simultaneously one soul as a collective. And the way that I usually describe this to people is, when you bake brownies, right? When you make brownies, you create the batter and you put it in the oven and you bake it, right? You take it out of the oven. What do you really have? You have like 20 brownies. You also just have one big ass brownie. Like, at the same time, right. So and soul is the same way. And so this idea is that everything that you do and everything that you want to do, really your objective primarily should be to lift the collective and to continue to push the collective toward not only higher ethics and, you know, more empathy and deeper understanding of things like that, but, you know, toward a world where people are treated, you know, as equals, because essentially we are all individual souls. We're all the same, right? And so really what you're looking for in enlightenment is really kind of creating a reality where we actually act as if that's true, instead of just saying it is and then going and shitting on somebody for no reason. And so basically the reason that you can't really separate politics from spirituality in that sense is because politics now it's the thing about spirituality is sometimes there's a lot of dirty work. Sometimes there's a lot of like, you really have to fight battles that you just sometimes you don't want to fight, but you have to fight them because the purpose of spirituality should. Jetta, please. Okay, give me a second. She's such an attention whore. I love her so much, but I swear to God.
All our animals are. Yeah, look at this one. We got.
Of course, I know her sign, but
look at this. We got the cat. This is the other cat. This is Luna. She just came up to bug us. Yeah. So please continue.
The bearded dragon out, but she's molting. So yeah. She's like PMSing right now. So but yeah, because at the end of the day, it's how are you going to practice spirituality and practice essentially like understanding the soul, right? Mm-hmm. If you're not willing to acknowledge that even all humans deserve basic rights, because at that point it's like you on the hierarchy of spiritual development, you're at step number 1, which is that all living things are equal. And if you can't, there's no way to advance without that fundamental.
Especially Wicca, Wiccans and witches in general are nature worshippers. So when we want to save our planet, right, we are about equality in all sexes and sexuality and gender, race. So wouldn't we want to have that in our land, in our world? We are about there's so many things that we're about that should line up with what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sorry, go ahead.
What we've come to in time is instead of being a system of compromises like we were for so long, everything has turned into a zero-sum game. If I don't win, then no one's going to win. Instead of trying to find a collective balance, it's I'm going to eliminate my quote-unquote enemy or someone who doesn't think the same way I do. They are therefore not worthy of my consideration because they don't look at the way I do.
Well, a lot of us already understand the concept of to make your life good, we have to make others good. We have to make sure that the whole machine and every cog in that machine is running smoothly to provide everybody with what they need. And if one cog needs oil or needs fixing, wouldn't we want something that can do that together? And that's common sense to me. But unfortunately,
it should be. I think, and I hate to like pull this card because I know that this is the hot topic lately, but like the other thing is we originally constructed society for a reason, one distinct reason, and that was the idea that because we're not particularly physically advanced compared to any other creatures that are here, right?
Yeah.
In order to protect ourselves and survive, we literally have to work together and protect our own. And that is essentially why we developed society. And I hate to pull this card, but capitalism has literally taught everybody for generations. And I'm not just talking about the US, everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
Capitalism, yes.
It has literally taught everybody that in order to have a happy life, in order to be successful, in order to feel good, you have to essentially put other people down, as if there's like this scarcity of goodness that exists in the world. There's a scarcity of joy and a scarcity of success. And if you don't take it from somebody else, then you're not going to have access to that.
A lot of that came in the 80s when it was about who can get to the top, who's the winner, who is the top dog. It wasn't about working together. It was about stepping on people, using them as a way to get to the top. And it's
the me, not we society.
It's the me, not we society.
And part of that, and this is really interesting, but part of that also is when Darwin came out with his theories about evolution, everybody misinterpreted the whole entire thing as well, because when you really look at when Darwin was studying, I know, I'm sorry, I know it's kind of a tangent, but
no, it's good.
when Darwin officially published his studies on the evolution of species, everybody kind of was like under the impression that like survival of the fittest meant like only the top get to have like the best life, and the weaker, you know, species or whatever fall to the bottom, and they just don't matter. And that's not at all like what it meant. Like, first of all, it literally doesn't mean that. It just means that genetics are passed through based off of, you know, what advancements in evolution are actually fundamental or are helpful to survival.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with like strength. It's just the fact that genetics pass on that way. But second of all, like, since when do we as a society just like abandon half of ourselves because like we feel like we're better than them? Like,
yeah,
because the point of a society is to succeed as a collective and to, you know, value it's really to succeed as a group, as a unit.
Yeah.
And when you're, the other thing is, unfortunately, like, and I love that the other thing is that people will assume that people who are intelligent are like always like, that's like the best thing that you can be, and we really underestimate a lot of other characteristics that people have in society.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody in society has something that of value to really offer,
yeah,
and to the collective. And that's, I think, the thing that a lot of people miss. Like, just because maybe, you know, you're smarter, or like, you know, you're more cunning, or like you're clever, you know, you might also be an asshole. I mean, like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, and just because somebody is super intelligent and then goes on to write something about, oh, like the strong have to like overcome the weak, or like, you know, screw the lower guy, doesn't mean it's right just because somebody had an IQ of 130 when he wrote it. Like,
yeah,
or, you know, it, because the other thing is that like in current, and I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but
it's okay.
In modern society, the most undervalued characteristic, in my personal opinion, is literally empathy. Because
Gosh.
at this point, we are so starved of empathy because everybody keeps putting the pressure on people to be smarter, make money, be successful, be ruthless, right?
Yep.
Essentially, what we want is somebody to be cutthroat. And because we've exclusively worshipped these characteristics of just brutal ambition to the point where you're stepping on other people, we've created a society that no longer values kindness or empathy, and no longer even, unfortunately, most of the time I feel like people don't even care when something terrible happens anymore, because we're all just like totally numb to it at this point.
We're very jaded, but I see a shift. I feel a shift in younger generation, because your generation and even younger are much more empathetic and much more about, we're going to stand up for what's right, and that challenges the old thoughts. And but that's what you're supposed to do, because when I was younger, I challenged my parents' ideals. You know, my parents came from the 1950s, okay, right? The 1950s. Think about that. Where segregation was a big thing, and women were just meant to be in the kitchen, and you know what I mean? Okay, so then I come along and I'm like, I challenge that, you know, and that was my job to do that as youthful.
Gotta go all Lilith.
Yes. And so
every generation has a moral obligation to produce a better collective.
Absolutely.
Every single generation. And the amount of people who just completely forego that in favor of sticking to their own, essentially their own pride, their own ego, and what they've already been taught because it's easier, is alarming.
It is, and I, you know, I'm one of the first to admit that I was stuck in my ways with certain things, but
me too.
But I've always been like, you know what? I need, you know, I have children who are 13 and 18. Okay, they're always reminding me of what is, hey, this is what's going on, you know, and it's important to me to listen and hear and learn, because I'm all about, if we stop learning, we die.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Absolutely.
And it's not a physical death. It's a metaphorical death.
It's a symbolic death.
Symbolic death.
Yeah. You evolve or you get left behind.
You evolve or you get left behind. And I don't want to be left behind. So that's why I think these discussions like we're having right now are really important. Not everyone's going to agree, but guess what? Maybe you learned something. Maybe you heard something that hit you a certain way. And that's all. That's what we should be doing. We should be having these open discussions. But we're up to our hour or more. We try to keep it around an hour. No, trust me, we've had guests that we've gone an hour and a half, 2 hours. But we have a lot of people, their ADD kicks in and they're like, I give up, But Ari, thank you so much. We're gonna put your website. We can also find your apothecary on Facebook. Is that correct?
Yep, the Apothecari Witches Club.
Yes, which is really, really awesome, and it's fun, and Ari's all about sharing information and just this. I mean, that's why I knew you'd be a great guest, because this is what you want to do. You want to share information. You want to find out things. That's what we try to do here on Witches and Wine. We have a good time doing it. Thank you so much, Ari. I am a big fan of yours. I am a huge supporter. Always know that if you need anything, come to me. I'm on the Ari train. Woo woo.
That is 100% ditto. So.
Oh, thank you. You're on the Lola train.
So before you're on our normal closing.
Yes.
Our next episode, guys.
Oh yes.
Is going to be our 100th episode.
Our 100th episode.
So Ari, you're number 99. Ari,
you're number 99.
So you're number 99. So our next episode is going to be a 100th episode. So it's going to be different than all of our previous episodes. We're going to have a live interaction, as well as we want you guys to send in messages, questions, things that you've always wanted to know about us, our coven, Witches and Wine.
I'm sorry.
And we're going to answer real time for you on the next episode. We're also going to be having some drawings and
giving away gifts
and things. So please make sure that you're going to be joining us. We will have the dates lined up and times for this to go on.
It's going to be in a couple weeks. Be on the lookout. I'll be all over Facebook. I'll put it on an Ari's Apothecari Witches Club thing, and it's going to tune in live, and we're just gonna have fun, because it's taken us a long time. We try to do these every week,
but life gets in the way.
Yeah. So it's taken us a long time to get to 100 episodes, but we're there. So that's a big thing.
Going into the dark part of the year, now that the wheel continues to turn like it does, we'll be having more downtime and home time, and so there's probably a likelihood that our episodes will be more frequent again.
Yeah.
The spring and summertime, we're active people.
Yeah.
We got shit going on.
Well, that's just normal for anyone. It's the sun is out, you're outside doing things. When the sun goes down and it's cold out, we stay inside and we can work on things here at home. So, yes, so we're looking forward to that. And we really are glad that Ari is our 99th episode, and she can kick us into the 100th. And so thank you so much, Ari. And for our viewers, anyone who is interested in what we do, if you have any questions about our coven, if you want to be a guest on the show, or you just want to ask us questions like...
Or maybe you have a great subject that you want us to talk about.
Then you can email us at...
crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
I'm sorry, what was that email address?
That's crossroadscoven@gmail.com.
So remember, everybody, always be kind to one another, walk with the goddess, and until next time, blessed be. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Good night.